ahead in the Bahamas tonight, KFC is back in business. Ahead tonight, the terms which have brought satisfaction to the union, KFC management, and chicken lovers. Customs and immigration make new demands over overtime pay, and police look into yet another murder in the capital. All those stories straight ahead in the Bahamas tonight.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news tonight, KFC is back in business. It's been a week and a half since a feud between KFC management and the hotel union resulted in a management decision to close all 9 restaurants while they and the union worked out their differences over pay and benefits. Finally, last night, a breakthrough in the negotiations and relief for chicken lovers who could have KFC for the first time in 10 days. Clint reports on what consensus the two sides came to.
A unanimous sanctioning of the negotiations between KFC management and line staff came Wednesday morning after Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union officials met with the 300-plus members of their bargaining unit to update them on the outcome of what was described as extremely rough talks. Hotel Union President Nicole Martin says they're happy to conclude an agreement they can live with. Martin says they didn't have to give up anything, but instead made concessions.
The pension fund, for example, is 100% paid by the employer. So instead of them paying the 6%, we agreed that they will pay a reduced amount of 2% for 3 years, and then the 6%, well, for 4 years, and the 6% would be reinstated in year 5.
Martin says while concessions were made for a period, it was important to ensure it was only for a limited time as to avoid a situation in the future where there is underemployment.
They wanted to have employees show up and be given a guarantee of 4 hours and up to 7.5. Certainly for the union, we could not agree to that. For the current employees, that will not change. We gave a concession for the guarantee provision to move from 7.5 to 4 for a period of 4 years. So we were able to hold things where they are for the current employees. We were able to give concessions for new people coming in, but also secure it in the future for even them.
In a press release last week, KFC went on record saying they would not open the restaurants while negotiating and that staff would reportedly not be paid during this time. Martin, however, says they're pursuing legal action on this point.
The employees were locked out. The laws provide that an employee cannot illegally strike and an employer cannot illegally lock workers out.
There is much repairing that must now take place. Martin admits their relationship with KFC has changed and is now strained.
We have a lot of work to do with our relationship. There's a level of trust that existed that has been broken.
Now, though negotiations have been completed, the union says they expect to sign the industrial agreement within 2 weeks. We can also tell you that although a sign posted on KFC restaurant says opening today, that didn't happen in the morning hours. Employees were still on the outside. They, however, did anticipate that by afternoon the operation will be back up and running. Clint Watson, ZNS News.
The hotel union, meantime, says it's grateful to the public, noting this is the most support they've seen from the masses for workers in a long time. Martin claims this victory is proof that when union leaders and the executive team are unified, anything's possible. She, along with NCTU President Jennifer Isaacs-Dotson, are grateful to the Labor Minister for ensuring resolution came.
When recognition is given that it should not be arbitrarily withdrawn, that in good faith, I think that's the key word. When two parties sit down together, we both sit down together in good faith, and both parties must want to sit down and to complete an industrial agreement with the union or the union with the employer. So I think it is a victory. I wish to ensure that all unions who may have voluntary recognition, we need to fix that and to ensure that this does not happen again.
Now that KFC's 300 line staff employees are back to work and a new industrial agreement about to be signed, Isaac Stotson is calling this an even bigger victory for Bahamian workers. But she's hoping that the final battle, securing salaries for workers during the period that the restaurants were closed, is won.
They locked them out of the stores. I think it is important that they, in good faith, pay those employees because they reported to work every day and they should be paid. If they have to sit down with the union and work out some arrangement to do that, because taking it to court is going to cost them more than reimbursing the employers. The fact that when they pay legal fees, the fees alone that they're going to pay an attorney is going to cost them more than what it would be to simply sit down with the union. Even if you do it, even if you work out a payment plan, at least sit down and try to work out terms and conditions as to how the money will be paid back.
Last week, it was reported that customs and immigration officers who had been at odds with the government regarding overtime and holiday pay would be paid in accordance with the Employment Act. Time and a half pay for overtime and double pay for holidays. Today, President of the Bahamas Customs and Immigration and Allied Workers Union, Sloane Smith, says at issue is the application of a flat rate that was applied by the government, which had some legal adjustments made to the Customs Management Act and immigration overtime. Smith says certain rates were given and or assigned to officers who worked overtime.
The Prime Minister indicated that he would ensure that those persons who worked from the 31st of March, I think it was, 2010, that matter will be corrected. So the union will prepare a list of those officers who worked overtime from the 31st of March 2010 to now to ensure that they're properly compensated.
That was, of course, TUC President Obi Ferguson on the overtime issue. Now here's what Sloane Smith had to say on his issue with how the payments are being made.
The Honorable Minister of Labor makes the comment that overtime has returned to Customs and Immigration. Well, the simple truth is this. By the government agreeing that the rate that they used to pay the staff for the past 2 years, by them simply agreeing, they're simply admitting that they were wrong in the first place for the application of the flat rate. We've been trying to tell the government through the Immigration Department and through the Customs Department for 2 years that the rate was improper. Had they listened, there would not have been a need for all of those demonstrations.
Now, Smith has reportedly asked union members to report to work tomorrow, take a 1-hour lunch break, and leave promptly at 5 p.m. Reports surfacing that the Bahamas has been placed on a watch list by the Financial Stability Board, an offshoot of the G20, are reportedly untrue. Articles appearing on the internet quoting the finance minister from Barbados said the Financial Stability Board, an offshoot of G20 process for the regulation and examination of financial centers, has put the Bahamas and Barbados on their list of countries for examination and watch. State Minister for Finance Ravago Lang claims the government is not aware of any new listing at all. The minister says they've checked with the board's website and can find no such information. However, he says it's not the practice of the board to produce any listing without notifying the relevant country. Well, still to come in the Bahamas tonight, police move in on 5 suspects in a major sting operation this afternoon. The details are up next.